Hello, I'm Logan Grabo, and this is a video about my presentation about the laser cut speaker. I go to Joliet Central High School. I take engineering and architecture too. The first step in this process of creating this laser cut speaker was the 3D modeling. Then here I modeled the general shapes for the pieces of the speaker, and I would include the grooves where the pieces would fit together. That was one of the most important parts, as when I laser cut, I wanted to ensure that each piece fit together in the correct manner, or else it obviously wouldn't work. I then had to add tiny designs of my choosing to the little pieces. They had to be either engravings or holes. That way, light and obviously music could still be heard through the speaker when I was finished constructing it with the speaker and the LEDs inside of it. And finally, I just put my name and class, period, and the date on the bottom for identification purposes. The next step was laser printing. This is after I had fully designed everything. I compressed the drawing. I had to ensure they were all in the cut layer, and I got them as close together as possible without touching. And then I attached the files so they could be laser cut. Then once it was finished, I took a toothpick, or I actually used a paper clip, and poked out every little tiny hole on, you can see some of the shapes like the paw or the star, so that the light and the music could be heard through. The next step was the dry fitting, in which I had to take all the pieces of the speaker and without gluing them, fit them together to ensure that they all fit together properly. This would also help to ensure that I could actually get a good look of what it was going to appear like when it was finished, so that when I went in with glue, I already had an understanding of what I needed to do. This also would help me, I didn't include it here, but if I had to sand anything down, which I didn't, but if you had to, you could sand the small grooves a little bit if needed so that they fit together better. And then I also, this is about the time where I started on the speaker, and you want to push the speaker of the two little circular pieces into the big holes we made when we were designing the back pieces. That way, because they're pushed to fit, you just push them in and they'll snap and stay in there tightly. But you want to make sure it's in the right direction. Otherwise, the buttons won't face the right way properly and it'll be very difficult to get them back out. Then I took the little red and white cables and I connected them from the piece with the silver back to the other part of the speaker with the buttons on it, so that the speaker obviously worked on both sides. And finally, I turned on the speaker. I did have to charge mine first, but I turned it on so that I could test if the Bluetooth would actually connect and work. And I tested it on my phone, and I was able to get good audio from my phone. The next step was gluing. Now, there's a little piece. The important thing here is there's a little piece at the bottom of, I believe that's the front or back piece, with a small hole at the bottom, a square-shaped hole for the cord for the LEDs to come through. That's important because when we're assembling the pieces, we're going to take a Q-tip and a tiny dot of liquid glue, and we're going to spread it on each piece that's going to connect to the other pieces. So it's also important to ensure that it's actually a part that's touching another piece. That way, and we wanted to make sure that the cord fit through, that way the LEDs could actually be plugged in whilst the speaker is together. Now we're not going to glue the top piece down here, because if we ever need to take it out to maybe fix something or adjust something, you don't want that glued down, because then you'd have to try and pull off the glue and that would break it, and that's just not really convenient. And then, so once it's also all the other pieces are set up on top of the bottom piece, everything's pressed in, you want to make sure you use books, or if you have like a vise you could use, or bookshelf holders, something to keep the actual box square while you're gluing so it doesn't get slanted and not fit really properly. And then this was the finished project. With everything assembled, the top just pops right off and can be easily put back on. You can see the speaker with the plug-in to charge there. There is a big hole. Now it is important that if you can be, when you put the LEDs into the inside of the speaker, if you want to be more, let's say, creative with how you did it, I put mine in there because I wasn't as worried as long as the lights were visible. If you want to be more methodical with how the lights are set up in there, you can. But other than that, it's simple. It's a simple project once you get past the modeling and the dimensions. You just lay it out, and you just have to glue the pieces together, make sure they're straight, make sure that all the chords are accessible, and you will be done. Yeah, so that's all. If you have any questions, that's my email, grabo.l@student.jtss.com. I also have a link to my digital portfolio if you'd like to go look at that. But that's all I have for you. Thank you.